Why did the Ottoman Empire side with Germany during World War I? The Ottoman Trap. A miscalculated conflict. In 1914, no one expected a 4-year global catastrophe. Most observers viewed the brewing tensions as a typical, short-term European conflict. The Ottoman Empire, which had been modeling its military after the German army since the Balkan Wars under Enver Pasha's leadership, already hosted numerous German consultants and experts. Having witnessed Germany's swift defeat of France in 1871, the Ottoman leadership held German military prowess in high regard. The reluctant alliance. Germany was the only great power willing to consider an alliance with the Sublime Porte, though even they were initially hesitant. Following the disastrous Balkan Wars, Berlin viewed the Ottoman military as a liability rather than an asset. However, this perception shifted during the war. The reformed Turkish army proved surprisingly resilient. Tensions even rose between the Allies in 1918, when Turkish and German forces famously clashed over the Baku oil fields during the liberation of Azerbaijan. From a strategic standpoint, Germany initially saw the Ottomans as a competitor for Middle Eastern oil resources and preferred they remain neutral. Kaiser Wilhelm II, however, disagreed. Once the German offensive stalled in the mud of the Western Front and the Schlieffen Plan failed, the need for a diversionary Eastern Front became dire. They needed the Turks to draw Russian troops away from Europe. This led to the tragic Sarıkamış campaign of 1915, fought largely to relieve pressure on Germany. Strategic impact and failed gambles. While German-led Lawrence-style subversion tactics in Afghanistan and calls for jihad in India proved unfeasible, the Ottomans made a massive impact by isolating Russia. The British failure in the 1915 Gallipoli campaign prevented vital shipments from reaching the Tsar, a factor that eventually contributed to the collapse of the Russian Empire. Conversely, Ottoman gambles like the Suez Canal operation of 1916 failed to put meaningful pressure on the British Empire. The drowning man strategy. Historians generally agree on two primary motivations for the Ottoman entry into the war: the existential fear of Russia and total financial insolvency. The leadership believed that if they remained neutral, the victors would inevitably partition the empire anyway. Mustafa Kemal, Ataturk, then a modest officer with little political influence, uniquely argued for neutrality to preserve resources. However, the ruling triumvirate felt forced to choose a side to maintain territorial integrity. Ottoman diplomats were far from naive. Cemal Pasha spent significant effort trying to secure a deal with France, while Talat Pasha sought British favour. Both powers stubbornly rejected these overtures. The situation worsened when Winston Churchill seized 2 Ottoman dreadnoughts that had already been paid for in full, a move seen as a massive provocation. The final push. With rumours circulating of a secret Franco-British deal to hand Constantinople to the Russians, stemming from the 1908 Reval meeting, the Ottomans looked toward Germany like a drowning man reaching for a snake. The state was bankrupt. It was ultimately German gold that financed their 4 years of war. While the Turkish public originally favoured France, the Entente's need to satisfy Russian demands for the Turkish Straits made a pro-Western alliance impossible. For years, Turkish schools taught that Enver Pasha acted alone in a fait accompli by ordering the bombing of Russian ports. We now know the government was fully aware of the German partnership and the formal written agreements. Ultimately, while joining Germany was a desperate gamble against a worse alternative, staying neutral, as Mustafa Kemal suggested, might have allowed the Turks to save their resources for the defense of the mainland. Regardless of the outcome, the loss of the oil-rich Arab lands was likely an inevitability of the era.